Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's the first day of summer.
And as everyone knows, summertime is the right time for Phil and Frank, baby. Yeah, that's how we roll.
How do you know it's the right time for
The first day.
for Phil and Frank? The first, so what, springtime's not the right time?
Well, maybe.
Autumn?
You guys don't play golf at those times of year. Today's golf day.
That is a fair and accurate observation. Welcome to PTI with Kornheiser needing a breather. I am pleased to welcome our great friend from The Athletic, Mr. Frank Isola. That was like delayed,
Perfecto.
wasn't it?
Perfecto.
We begin with the aftermath of last night's NBA draft, specifically with Zion Williamson and the remake of the New Orleans Pelicans. The club wound up with 3 more picks, first-rounders Jackson Hayes, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Brazilian second-round pick Swing Didi Silva. And David Griffin saying it's Drew Holiday's team for now anyway, added, quote, "Don't write this like Zion is here to save the franchise. He is not. He is here to join this family," close quote. Frank, nice try by Griff. But is he actually going to be able to shield Zion from pressure?
No, not until the games start, I guess. And here's the thing about Zion Williamson. He comes into the league as the most hyped player since LeBron James.
Even more so.
LeBron James walked into the league
media.
as, all the pressure in the world, the face of the franchise.
Yep.
I got a chance to talk to Zion on Wednesday in New York, and I said, "Is there a lot of pressure, face of the franchise?" He said, "What do you mean by face of the franchise?" Listen, you and David Griffin can avoid it all you want. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this kid. Now, he's handled everything great. His college career, the way that he handled the injury, coming back from the injury, losing the NCAA tournament. Make no mistake about it, though, when you're this big of a player, one of the most hyped players we've seen in the last 50 years, maybe.
Because the world we live in now and the way it operates, he's the most hyped. He's more hyped than LeBron.
Yeah.
Because of social media, which was just starting in its infancy to sort of have the presence, the daily presence. But let me say this. I'm going to go back the other way and disagree a little bit. I think that Griff is handling this perfectly. And I think you tamp down expectations. First of all, they're surrounding him with an athletic team, the kind of team that ought to make it a little easier for him to be introduced into the NBA. I think when you say constantly, you can't make him avoid it, but you can lessen, I think, the stress on Williamson by doing it this way.
But the fans are looking at it. He's replacing Anthony Davis, who you traded. That said, Anthony Davis made it to the playoffs twice.
Yeah.
He got out of the first round.
One time.
Once.
But doesn't that make it easier, Frank? Because that New Orleans is a football environment, a football culture first. Notice how they're even saying we can have a second team. We can be a second pro team town. That they're after the Saints. They're probably after LSU. And they haven't done anything. There's nothing he has to follow.
I'm going to name drop before you do. I've done radio on Sirius with David Griffin. He knows how the game is played.
He does.
He was with LeBron James in Cleveland. He's smart to say this now because he knows the fans and the media want to make it all about Zion. It's smart to make it about right now and say it's Drew Holiday's team, even though we know eventually it's all about Zion.
Well, while much of the emphasis in New Orleans is to lighten the load on Zion, it's quite the opposite in New York, where the Knicks drafted RJ Barrett, who before the end of the night walked through the halls in Brooklyn holding up a Knicks jersey. The kid has said for days, despite being 19 years old, that he's built for the pressure of playing in New York for a team that always has outsized and unmet expectations. Frank, you've spent much of your life covering the Knickerbockers. Do you think New York is going to be as embracing of him?
Well, I think, number one, he joins a Knicks team. He's already the best player in the team. That says a little bit about him. It also says a lot about the New York Knicks. This fan base has been dying. The Knicks have had the worst record in the NBA the last 18 years. You're coming off of 17.
The worst
overall record in the NBA.
That's a great
worse
note.
than Minnesota.
That's a great note.
So they're coming off 17 and 65. They're ready to embrace anything right now. He's the highest pick they've had since Patrick Ewing. And you think of all these first-round picks the Knicks have had the last 30 years, 2 have become all-stars as Knicks. David Lee, the next year was gone. Kristaps Porzingis, the next year was gone. They're dying for a player like this who calls himself the Maple Mamba because he's from Canada. He's got the right attitude, but now he has to produce.
I worry about this kid. I worry about
Why is that?
Barrett. And I've met him and his dad. He has this pedigree. I mean, he comes from a family that understands this. He observes his dad being the head of Canadian basketball and the pressures that come with this. And so he's grown up with it. he is probably best equipped to handle this of any draftee, and he's still not equipped to handle it because the first night he goes 3 for 13, they're going to boo him. Look, Carmelo couldn't handle this. And Carmelo is a Hall of Famer who won a national championship as a freshman in college. I feel for RJ Barrett because I think nothing will satisfy Knicks fans. It's going to take them years. The team still stinks. I feel for this kid. I hope it turns out.
Especially if they don't strike it big in free agency this summer. You know, in college, he averaged 22 points a game. He also took 18 and a half shots a game. In a 40-minute college
he's
game,
going to get a lot
when
of
you had
shots
Zion Williamson on your team?
Frank, do you think it has dawned on him that they're going to stink? The Knicks stink.
I don't think it.
They're terrible.
I don't think it has.
And I don't want it to all just come crumbling down on him. See, that's the difference between him and Zion. There's no big pressure. There's no outsized expectations of the Pelicans, who have only even been the Pelicans for about 3 years in New Orleans. The New York Knicks always think they're more than they are. And they're usually less than everything. When you pointed out worst record in 18 years.
Last 18 years. It's
that's
hard to believe.
Staggering. And now they're going to turn this over and expect him to deliver them?
How about the scene with RJ Barrett and his dad, Rowan Barrett?
It was great.
Ja Morant and his
dad. It was great.
And
Hugging,
Zion.
Emotional. I love that scene with those fathers.
Maria Taylor did a great job. She really did.
It was great. And now starts the worry.
I know. Exactly.
You know, have your son put in that? Man.
All right, the Washington Wizards, they used the 9th overall pick to select Gonzaga's Rui Hachimura, who became the first Japanese-born player taken in the first round. It's a nice story. It's a solid pick. But it's still something of a surprise since Hachimura revealed he never met nor spoke to anyone with the Wizards. Michael, this is in your backyard. Yeah. So does the way the Wizards are currently operating, does it concern you at all?
And that may say more about historically the Wizards. You talk about the Knicks historically, the Wizards historically. They haven't, when I talked about the reason that a certain Toronto president would not be coming to Washington, even if an offer was out there, is because of resources, right? And the Wizards aren't the richest team. They don't have the longest purse strings of any team. And historically, and while Ted spends much more money than the previous regime, they haven't spent the kind of money that says, oh, they're going to follow some prospect. Remember how Jerry Krause followed Tony Kukoc all the way across Eastern Europe?
Did a good job with Scottie Pippen, too.
That's right. That's not been the Wizards' MO, and I guess it doesn't shock me because they haven't done it. The Knicks have that kind of money. The Clippers, who followed Kawhi Leonard every game, that's not the Wizards' MO, so I'm not shocked.
Now, they obviously watched him in college. They watched a lot of film.
They scouted him.
They heard that he was moving up, and then you start hearing these comparisons, and let's just pump the brakes a little bit about Kawhi Leonard, but he does have a 7'2" wingspan. He is a great kid. He's got the right attitude, and I think if you're Washington, it was worth the risk because you're talking about Giannis at 15, Kawhi. People are putting him in that same category.
That's a little much.
It is a little much, but I think the Wizards and Tommy Shepard, as the interim, he's probably going to get the full-time job. I think he's looking to hit it out of the park, knowing that people are going to be willing to be patient with him.
Well, they thought he would be gone, like you said.
Yep.
And good for Tommy Shepard. I mean, they also didn't do anything crazy like trade up 6 spots to get him and give away some of the few assets they still have remaining. I think it's a great pick. I think he's going to fit in here. Talk about personality in a place that it matters. His personality seems wonderfully suited for Washington. I think also he's one of the players. I asked Jay Billis about this yesterday. Is this one of the guys you think who's going to overperform his draft position? I think and hope he will.
Maria Taylor, I love when she said to him, Maria, why don't you talk to people back home in Japan, say something. So he said something in Japanese. I could have sworn he said, are the Wizards really paying John Wall $47 million in the 22-23 season?
It'll be a while before he sees John on the court, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a long time.
Okay. Sola and I are about to have some strong words with each other.
That's right.
What's first?
It was blank to watch Bol wait to get picked at 44.
Frank, in real time, I thought it was excruciating. Because you know this kid, first of all, he's you can't miss him. He's 7'1" or 7'2". He's got the most eye-catching outfit out there with the spider web deal. And he's been a top 5 or a top 10 talent coming into college. When he played those 9 games for Oregon, his numbers were great. And he expects to be a high first-round pick, even with the foot injury mid-first round. And he goes to 44. He eventually goes to Denver, which I think is a good landing spot. But it was excruciating.
Yeah, I said poorly produced. And for Manute Bol's son, I mean, here he is. You're one of 22 guys. That's who gets selected to sit in what they call the green room. So they have to have a pretty good idea of where you're going to go. They missed by that much.
That's a big miss.
They said 22. He goes 44. And I felt badly for Nasir Little of North Carolina because he was dropping.
Yeah.
But he went 25th, and he went to Portland. He's in a pretty good situation. This guy goes all the way to 44. He was sitting there for a long time.
We both think this could work out okay for Bol Bol, don't we?
Yeah, they were pulling guys from Croatia out of the crowd to go to San Antonio. This poor guy's sitting there.
What's next?
Kobe White's reaction to Cam Johnson getting picked at number 11 was blank.
Kobe White had been drafted by the Bulls. He's in there in the room having a press conference.
Yeah.
And here's his reaction to his teammate Cam Johnson getting picked by the Suns.
Cameron Johnson just went 11th. How do you react to that news?
He went what?
11th.
Cam
in the
Johnson
draft.
went 11th.
Yep. It's right on the screen right there.
Wow. Wow. Wow, bro. That's crazy. That's so love, bro. Because if y'all know Cam, you don't know how hard Cam worked. And, you know, it's a lot of people that doubt him. But, wow, bro, that's crazy, bro. Wow, that's so crazy. I'm so happy for him right now. Y'all don't understand how happy I am for Cam because he proved it night in, night out that he deserves to be, you know, in the conversation for a lottery pick, man. He shot the ball like anyone I've never seen before in my life or played with. So I'm so, wow, bro. I'm getting chills up here.
You would think my word is going to be wow, but it won't be wow. By the way, I love the Bulls having a point guard with that kind of personality.
Yeah.
That's Kobe White's reaction to Cam Johnson being picked number 11 was sunny because he's going to the Phoenix Suns, where with Ty Jerome and Sarge, these guys were all acquired last night. Cameron Johnson, 6'9", the best shooter in college basketball last year. I'm excited for the Phoenix Suns. Sunny is my word.
Cam Johnson, 96 three-pointers last year.
a lot.
My word is going to be un-Kobe-like because the real Kobe Bryant never would have flinched when that happened. He would have said, I knew he was going 11th. It's not really that big of a deal. But I do love that Kobe acts like that because you can tell he loves his teammate. And the one thing about all these guys, Zion Williamson would rather talk about RJ Barrett than talk about himself. Same thing with Kobe White right here.
That bodes well for the NBA coming up with all these guys having to play major roles. What's next?